Across the northeastern U.S. tonight, they're still learning the extent of the devastation left by Hurricane Sandy. Dozens of people died when the superstorm hit the coast, spawning flooding, fires, and destruction. And Sandy is already labeled the worst disaster in New York history. Jay Gray has the latest.
The day after, the devastation is overwhelming.
This is literally the storm of our lifetime.
Sandy battered the mid-Atlantic and East Coast, violent winds and raging floodwaters that turned deadly overnight. More than 24 people killed, and there's fear tonight that number could climb.
The enormity of the storm and the power of the storm, and then you have calls coming in and you just can't get to these people. So we don't know if we have bodies out there right now or not. That's why we're out on the road now looking.
Sandy's rage began as it crossed the Jersey Shore, shattering windows, crumbling buildings, and tearing away boardwalks along the coast.
The level of devastation at the Jersey Shore is unthinkable.
This image of a roller coaster twisted and tossed into the water, a telling symbol of Sandy's wild ride. The floodwaters were so intense, cars and lives were in an instant turned upside down.
I thought the house was going to come off the foundation. Literally, I thought we were going to die.
That same fear and the force of the massive storm was felt all along the coast. More than 8 million homes lost power in more than a dozen states, and the early damage estimates are at $20 billion. Some of the worst was here in New York, the nation's largest city, crippled by high winds and a record storm surge. Water pouring into lower Manhattan, swallowing neighborhoods and washing out the subway system. Ironically, it was that water that prevented firefighters from dousing these flames in Queens. 80 homes were lost. And now, as the cleanup begins,
clearly the challenges our city faces in the coming days are enormous.
The mayor and millions in the strike zone.
It's really a catastrophe.
Understand that it will take a long time to recover from the damage Sandy left behind. One major concern in the hardest hit communities tonight is the lack of heat, with the temperatures falling and the winds continuing to blow. Jay Gray, NBC News in Battery Park, New York.
Thousands of Canadian travelers have been stranded stateside because of the superstorm. Amanda Cotton from Lethbridge was one of them. She'd been attending a wedding in North Carolina and spent 5 hours trying to get a flight home. She was eventually rerouted and made it home after a very stressful evening.
Finding out if I was going to get home, which I was sure I would. It was just a matter of, I knew everybody was trying to get their flights rerouted, so I was just worried that I was going to be stuck out there for a little while. But luckily, I was the last one on my flight from Raleigh to Houston and then rode Houston to Calgary. So
Cotton says she considers herself fairly lucky. Other passengers were stranded for much longer.